Hello all you people out there in TV land. My name is CB Studios, also known as Kurt, and today I'm going to do a breakdown of a costume that I built 2018, I think? Quite a while ago, but is one of my favorite pieces. Everything's my favorite piece. I don't even know why I bother saying that. You may be able to guess exactly what I'm going to talk about today because of the shirt. And I am talking about the Finnish heavy metal band LORDI. Now, I've spoken of LORDI quite a bunch on this channel. In fact, earlier this year, I went up to Helsinki, Finland. I got to see LORDI perform live. It's fucking amazing in the middle of Helsinki. Went up further north, got to go to Rovaniemi, up where Mr. LORDI is from. Saw the LORDI plaque in LORDI Square in the middle of Rovaniemi. Got to see where the Rock Durant was. I got to go to Pahakerki where they did the Scream stream back in 2020. I'm an absolute fanboy. You guys should know this by now. And as you've seen, I've done a really cool Apocalypse era Mr. LORDI costume, and I've done a Deadache era Ox costume. However, that's not the only LORDI costumes that I've done, and I want to show off something that's probably one of my proudest LORDI costume replicas, and that is Amen from the Deadache era. Now, as I've been over a couple of times, LORDI changed their costumes every album cycle, which they call eras. Every era's got a significantly different costume design. Sometimes they're a little bit similar, but for the most part, they do look drastically different, and this has been going on since the very start of the band, way back in 2002, with the release of Get Heavy. Now, the Deadache era is, in my opinion, one of the most coherent and coolest looks for the whole band. It was a darker time and a darker album for them, released in 2008, but it was a really good evolution on the LORDI costumes and the designs. They built upon the Apocalypse basis, but they were a little bit more horror inspired rather than the very crispy, clean and slick, really glossy sort of look that the Apocalypse had. And I gotta say, it's my favorite design for Mr. Amen. Now, this is a full head latex mask that I built of Mr. Amen back in 2018. I sculpted this from scratch, and I'll throw some photos in here as I talk so you can see the sculpt of this. This was sculpted in my old apartment, sculpted in plasticine clay, and then molded in hydrocal plaster. And I do still have the molds for this. In fact, I've only ever made 2 of these. One of these is with Mr. Joni LORDI Master in Finland, and then the other one is mine. It's me. It's this one. And this is a full head mask with a separate jaw, as you can see there, which is really cool, and that allows me to move my face and move my jaw while I'm wearing this costume. Now, note that I didn't say mask. I said costume, and that's because I've got a full costume to show off today. Now, the reason that I'm talking about this specifically is I've made use of these molds quite a lot. I really like the chest and the thighs and the arm sculpts that I made for this costume. And so I've done multiple things out of this mold. In fact, my Part 7 Jason, he's the one who's chilling up there, my Part 7 Jason costume, I'm actually reusing a lot of the molds from this costume because it really works for this design. So, let's jump in and I'll show you the costume, give you a breakdown, and then throw the whole thing on because why the fuck not? In this bag is the costume, and this is just a regular suit bag sort of thing from Kmart. I'm going to drop this on the ground and I'm slowly going to show you the bits and pieces, starting with the chest. We are a little bit folded because this has been in storage, but this is the chest for this costume. We have an undershirt with the rotting, gory chest piece attached to it with all the nice bone and texture and flesh and all that sort of shit. We've got sleeves attached to the arms. They are basically just an upper arm. The lower arm is covered by a gauntlet. We got that on both sides. And then we have this shoulder mantle, chest, neck thingy, bit and pieces. And basically it's just this Egyptian pharaoh look. In case you didn't guess, and it's a little bit less obvious with the Apocalypse and the Deadache era, that Mr. Amen was an ancient Egyptian mummy. Amen Ra, and he was the guitarist for the band, has recently been replaced by Kone, who is fucking amazing live, really cool. Very disappointed I didn't get to see Amen live, but I'm also really happy that I got to see Kone live because just holy fuck, what an actual machine. So this was a 2-part mold for this torso piece. I sculpted one side, one half of it, and then just cast 2. And this repeating motif is all over the costume, and I actually sculpted one of those and reused it for a bunch of stuff. Chest piece is one big flat mold, and I've still got that mold, and you'll see it in an upcoming Jason video. And then the arms are one flat piece, and this is all just glued down to a cheap Kmart t-shirt. Now onto the legs. Here's the legs. It's just big latex pieces stuck down onto a pair of tights. We do have a belt that covers over the butt and the crotch and that sort of thing, so you don't need to really see that. You have the lower legs are just fabric again, and covered by some shin pieces. We've just got these big thigh plates. They're again cast in latex rubber and glued down to the bodysuit. They work really, really well. These thighs are again something that I've used for my Jason, and why not use the giant big molds that you've already got to make the scary monster thing that you've already made. Next piece. These are the gauntlet pieces. Now, again, this has been in storage for many, many years. These are my gauntlets, and they are basically just rubber, sculpted rubber, just glued down to some cotton fabric. That same sort of cotton fabric that's used for the t-shirt and pants. And they just Velcro together, and that makes your forearm. It basically just, we could have put it on if I was going to do this, straps around, and that's your gauntlet. And these have held up really, really well. The paint still looks really, really nice on these. That nice golden brown sort of coloring. I have stitched the Velcro in as well as glued, and I actually sprung for a really nice high quality Velcro for this one as well. These pieces were actually sculpted in EVA foam. I did a giant big panel of EVA foam for these sections, carved in the details with a hot knife, just a soldering iron, and then I actually bought some proper studs, and I stuck them into the EVA foam, and then molded that whole thing to do my latex pieces. It's worked really, really well to get all of this detail and look really, really nice without having to sculpt it all in plasticine, which would take ages and be much, much harder to do. We've then got, to continue on with these panels, is we've got the shin pieces. Yeah, we're pretty damaged on these ones. They're pretty warped, but that's okay. We have, again, a giant big plate that was sculpted and cast in latex. It has this weird Anubis head on there. It's all glued down to a big piece of cotton fabric, and that's got my Velcro stitched into the back on there. If we can go over and give you an idea. And that basically just makes the leg. And that works really, really nicely. A whole lot of this costume has this weird freaky fabric, this Halloween sort of gauze fabric, and that helps disguise some of the joints and also give that mummy look where you've got the sort of aged wrappings and stuff like that. There's not a lot of wrappings on this costume, but the evolution of this for the Babes for Breakfast era, it's the same costume from the neck down, just with a whole lot of bandages around it. But this one, you got a lot of nice little dangly bits that keep this vibe alive. It's very, very fun. From there, you then have the shoes, which are a sculpted piece of toes, and then more of this sort of banding motif that I was talking about earlier. You've got a nice little toe piece, and it's basically just glued around a pair of Converse high tops, or knockoff Converse high tops. And they just sort of, when you've got the ankles on there, you kind of get that like Egyptian sandal look, and it's really, really comfortable to wear because they're just fucking sneakers. They're great. It's an awesome, awesome idea. And really, because you've got that sort of wrapping peeking out from underneath and giving those nice little dangly bits, and you've got the toes there, if anybody's looking that closely at your feet and can tell that like it's a pair of shoes, they're going to be kind of weird, but for the most part, really, really comfortable footwear for a really, really hot costume. Now the final part is the belt. The belt, I'm really, really happy with this. This is actually, it's very, very big. Amen's belt was huge for this era. It's got that sort of striper motif on the sides. And this is a full leather belt. All of this is leather, including this back butt flap thing. That's really nice pigskin leather as well. I went through and basically winged this whole setup to make it as accurate as possible, did all the hand painting and everything like that, using a bunch of reference images for it. And it's turned out really nicely. And obviously it's still in incredibly good shape because it hasn't been fucking worn. But went through with a Sharpie and did all the hieroglyphs and everything to match the actual one, did all the paint work, dyed up all the leather, cut it, did these nice buckles, and that's the belt. It looks really cool. Now, the final part for this costume is makeup and contact lenses. So you got a nice little pair, which they're probably, you're not going to be able to see them. You'll see them when I put them in. Got these nice whiteout contact lenses. They are exactly the same style as the Papa Emeritus eye that I like to wear. However, with Amen, he's got them in both eyes. So We chuck that in, we chuck a bit of black around the eyes and probably around the mouth, although I'm not going to do it for this suit up, I will just do the black around the eyes. Smash that on, and then pull the whole costume on. And I'm going to be really nice, because I really like how this costume goes together, I'm going to show you how I get in the costume. So, I'm going to go throw in some contact lenses, I'm going to do some black around my eyes, I'm going to come back with the shirt and the pants on, show you how the rest of the costume comes together, and give you an idea on how Mr. Amen looks. Let's check it out. Okay, so as you can see, I have pants, kind of see, and I got my torso on. You can see how well that fits. Like, it really just sort of sits correctly. This is why I wanted to use this same piece for my Jason, because it's just going to work really well for that sort of rotting zombie corpsey thing. So, from here, I'm going to chuck the shoes on, which you're not really going to see too much of, but I'll chuck the shins on as well, and I'll give you some lower shots at the end. As you can see, I've got the eye makeup on, a little bit of black around the eyes, not a huge amount, and I've got the white-out contact lenses, which are nice and creepy. And yeah, so we'll do shoes and then shins, and then belt, collar piece, gauntlets, mask. We'll see how we go. Alright, I think it's time for a little bit of time-lapse. And okay, now obviously there's some stuff that's not sitting correctly, like this piece, which has been attempted to be stuck down with gaffer tape, but it's just not going to stick, which is fine. God, I haven't worn this in years. So I will say that because this mask was made 6 years ago, the jaw articulation has moved. Which is fine, and I need to trim it a little bit before I wear it again. But this is my Amen costume. You can see, I think we look pretty fucking rad. Now, this thing is actually pretty comfortable, except for the fact that you're in Australia and it's really hot. The mask could do with some padding, and yeah, you saw that the jaw was attached to a balaclava. Well, that balaclava and the jaw have separated over time, so that needs to be glued down as well. There's some repairs, there's always going to be repairs that are needed. But I'm going to give you some worn shots, give you a good look at how this thing looks, and that'll be about it. Thank you very much for watching, guys. This has been a really fun little video because I love this costume and I want to wear it more. And I figured it was a good opportunity to do this before you see these molds being used for my Part 7 Jason. Throw me a like, throw me a subscribe, tell me your favorite Lordi costume down below, and until next time, so be it, so shall it be done.